The BMMF was originally purpose-built for a project funded by Heising-Simons Foundation International and has been recently upgraded to a modern experimental facility funded by the National Science Foundation. The BMMF consists of 12 400-liter basins and 4 1,200-liter basins and works with natural seawater at adjustable flow rates. It allows adjusting temperature, light, CO2, and water flow in each basin individually. The facility also has a lab trailer. The BMMF serves many purposes, which include research, organism rearing, student experiments, and educational tours for high school groups and the public. Bioscientist Dr. Yvonne Saval and Dr. Samantha DePruchon will now take you on a tour through the facility.
Here we have the heat pumps. They control the temperature inside the basins. We have 4 big ones here. Those are for the 4 big basins. Each of the big basins contains 1,200 liters. And then we have 12 small ones. Each of them is hooked up to one basin that holds 400 liters of water. The heat pumps can chill and heat the water depending on what's required. The temperature, it's a very important parameter to investigate because we all know heat stress and ocean heat waves, but also land heat waves are increasing in severity and frequency. It's a major concern to the marine life. We can regulate the light through the roof, but also through lids on the individual basins. And it's very easy to just kind of adjust the light by adding more mesh of mosquito net or whatever foil or mesh you would like to use. We have a CO2 supply system in place, which we use to manipulate the pH of the water, and we can do that up to 3 different levels.
The seawater comes from our header tank into these 3 mixing tanks above me. Mixing tanks combine the seawater with the CO2 from our gas cylinder and the air from the compressor. These go through mixing gas diffusers in the header tanks, and those then, the water then comes out from those, and seawater runs into each of our mesocosm tanks, thereafter changing the conditions of ocean acidification.
And at the same time, we can also monitor the pH in the individual basins, and that's an automated system. Here, this is where the pumps are being controlled, the pumps that are used outside to pump the water from the basins to the pH sensor.
Mesocosm is currently being used to study the effects of ocean acidification on sea cucumbers over in these tanks and also on brittle stars over in these tanks.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is how seawater is derived from the reach, goes into the big header tanks, is then distributed into the individual tanks, and we have a lot of flexibility there as well in terms of flow rate into the individual basins. We can even split it up further into going into individual experimental units within the basins, so there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how we can set up experiments. So we also have a trailer here that is converted into a lab. It's kind of a semi-wet lab. It's supposed to be dry inside because we do have computers inside, and we have the facility to set up microscopes inside the lab. Also, we run, for example, incubations inside the lab as well. If we do want to control for light, that would be a place to go and do measurements that are where you can control the light intensity. So if people want to utilize this facility, they usually get in touch with us before. Most of the experiments, they do happen in collaboration with us. We really help out and are part of the experiment. But of course, scientists can also come here and do experiments on their own if they wish. The purpose really is that we can conduct near natural experiments in an environment where we have the reef and the organisms right here in the proximity. So the organisms are exposed to minimum stress. They're put into the mesocosms, and then we can manipulate conditions in a way that they're as close as possible to their natural environment, and then can add stresses to it as we like to.